Update. Thinking if I, 36 male, should leave my wife, 36 female, because she openly resents our son, 7. Original story. Neither of us were sure about having kids. We were married 5 years before finding out she was pregnant. Both nervous as hell, but in the end, she wanted to try having the baby, and I agreed. It was hard at first. Parenthood is in general, but I love my son. He's wonderful, smart, energetic, and warms my heart. My wife, for the most part, was great with him, but occasionally we both would get burned out and find some time to have date nights or individual free time. Over a year ago before lockdown, my wife started becoming very irritated over anything he'd do. Accidentally spill a little apple juice on the counter? She'd yell at him like if he'd just destroyed a family heirloom. It was something that happened every now and then, but we'd talk about it, and she would apologize to him. Pandemic was really rough. We both had our jobs, just were working from home and our son wasn't in school. At first, I thought the frustration came from being cooped up at home and not being able to go out. But my son's been going to school again for months, and we're all back to going out. Yet, things haven't improved. Finally had to sit down with my wife, because no matter what mood she's in, she could be happy and smiling. But when my son comes in, her mood shifts, and I notice it more now. My wife told me that for the longest time, she's resented having our son. Motherhood isn't what she thought it was going to be, and missed it only being the two of us. She didn't expect her life to be this way with a child, and she regrets having him at all. It was a hard conversation to have, but one we really needed to. I've talked to her about getting therapy, individual, couples, or both, whatever it takes. She's refused because she claims she doesn't need help. We have tried going on more date nights, being a couple if she feels like we're not getting enough of that. Having her spend some more one-on-one time with him, which she doesn't want to do. It doesn't matter. As soon as we get home and in our son's presence, she's more serious. I asked her once, does she love him? And my wife says that she does, just doesn't like him. That was painful. I want to work on this with her and get therapy, but she doesn't want to. What's pushing me to want to leave is because my son is starting to pick up on this. No 7-year-old kid should be asking why mom's always mad at him. I love my wife, but I'm scared of him growing up with someone who doesn't like him. Is this really it? Is the next best thing to leave, or is there any way to get her to understand I can't have our son living like this? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I grew up with a mother who loved me but didn't like me. She messed me up so hardcore. I'd let your wife know that if she isn't in therapy and making progress immediately, you'll be all done. Your kiddo comes first. I'm very sorry about your mother. That's exactly what I want to avoid with my son. He doesn't deserve any of this. I really hope another talk, this time with the mention of divorce if nothing improves, will get her to understand how serious I am this time. I also grew up with this. It also prompted me to spend most of my 20s in horrible relationships. And I also don't speak to the parent who loved me but didn't like me now, and haven't in years. You see, it seemed okay for me to be in relationships with partners who treated me with contempt, disgust, even sadism, because they also said they loved me, but just couldn't stand me because of X, Y, and Z. And to me, that's what love was. Being with someone who loved me but didn't like me, even despised me. And my job was to try everything to make my obviously defective self good enough to finally make them happy and stop mistreating me. Spoiler alert, that never works with these people, like your wife. Their target is never good enough because that's the game. Love doesn't justify psychologically destroying your child in a way that no therapist may ever be able to fix. Her love is pretty worthless in my view. It even creates a type of confusion that is extremely damaging. For anyone reading this and stuck in a relationship right now where someone is telling you they love you but don't like you, don't keep subjecting yourself to such treatment and hope to be good enough one day. Stick your middle fingers up and walk away immediately if you ever hear that phrase. Only accept relationships with people who like, respect, and value you naturally for the person that you are. Don't accept less from people, friends, family, partners. Your wife absolutely needs therapy. It sounds like she's in a very toxic place and taking out her frustration on your son. If she isn't willing to get the help she needs, you need to protect your son and leave. He is the innocent one in all this, and even if he's not showing it yet, this could create all kinds of trauma for him feeling that kind of rejection. That's my main concern too. I don't want this impacting him in a negative way. and can't play peacemaker every time she gets mad at him over any little thing, or just doesn't interact with him as much. All this time, I had hoped things would improve, and sadly that hasn't been the case. And now for the update. Well, it's been a hard few days, but it happened. Didn't want it to, but it needed to. I took my son out of there. Trying to talk with my wife about this a couple days after posting this got us nowhere. Even if therapy wasn't going to be the miracle that makes her want to be a mother to our son, I told her it wouldn't hurt to have somewhere to talk about her feelings. Get to the core of why she feels this way. But if maybe there's a way to work on it so that it wouldn't have a deep impact on how she is with him. She refused. And I asked her, does she ever think it will get better? As in, does my wife believe she could see herself caring for him and being what he needs at all in the future? The answer wasn't going to determine if I left or not, but that's something I just wanted to know for myself. She said no. When I told her that it's not going to work out between us because his well-being comes first, she begged me to stay. All these promises of not treating him negatively and putting on a face for him, but still will not do therapy at all because she doesn't need help. Then all of a sudden, she gets angry and told me to get out that if I only just want to be with my son. It was heartbreaking. We ended up leaving since she didn't want to leave the apartment. He was still half asleep when we left, so all I've told him so far is we're just taking a short vacation. He believes it since we're staying at a hotel for now, but he does keep asking about her. I'm trying my best to keep it together for him, but my heart's still broken though. I hate that it had to end like this. But many of you were right, and I know this too. He had to come first, and this was already messing him up. I know it was the right choice. Feels like my life just came to a hard stop, and I'm just trying to get my bearings still. She hasn't contacted me since we left. My family's aware of what's happening though, so I'm glad to have their support. My sister offered to have my son spend a weekend with them so he could be with his cousins. Since he is not here right now, I decided to use some of my free time to type this up. Thank you for being the push I needed to do something. Deep down, I know it was what needed to be done. Guess just needed it to be said. Many of us grew up with parents who never should have had kids. It's amazing what you are doing for your son. You have changed the course of his life for the better. I wish you both all the best. I wish it didn't have to happen. That's life, I guess, but I needed to do better for him. He didn't deserve any of that. Thank you for making this choice. Often, the loving parents will remain because they are scared/think it's best. It's a heartbreaking choice, but it's the right one for everyone involved. Please don't forget that both you and your son will need therapy. Don't let yourself drag this with you for the years to come. You both deserve better. After having our son, his mother started getting really horrible, and we started to fight constantly. She finally admitted to me that she didn't want to be a mom and didn't want to be tied down into a relationship with me either. For context, I had broken up with her a couple of days before she found out she was pregnant, and she talked me back into our relationship and into keeping the baby. So her not wanting to be a mom or be in a relationship were news to me. Fast forward 12 years later, and we live on opposite sides of the country. Her with her new husband on the East Coast and me and my son on the West Coast. She calls him on FaceTime every night and comes to visit for a couple of weeks 2 or 3 times a year. It turned out to be the best thing for all of us. Her and I become friends, and she doesn't fight me on things related to our son, and she has a good relationship with our boy, gets to love her unconditionally from a distance, without all of her in-your-face negative complications. Years ago, when my family suddenly fell apart, I thought the world was ending, but now I realized it was the best thing for everyone, including my son. Stay strong, put your son first, don't talk bad about his mother, and have faith. Everything will work out in the end, I promise. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys were able to get to a better place. That's all I want for my son. This gives me some hope. Even if things don't change with her, I know it was the right move for my son. Appreciate you sharing this. You're doing the right thing. One day your boy will understand what you did for him, and a positive example you've set will shape him, the people he meets, the life he lives, and the lives of his children after him. Good luck, brother. This has been the hardest week of my life. Most nights, I've stayed up crying. Aside from my son, this is the only thing that truly brought a smile to my face. So thank you very much for your lovely comment. I've got tears in my eyes, but for a different reason now. Next story. I kicked my brother and his family out and cut them off after they called my son a retard. I'm a widow, but before my husband passed, we adopted a baby boy. Our son Jacob, 4 male, was diagnosed with ASD and global development delay last year. It was hard for me being a single mother, but my profession as a speech-language therapist helped a lot in dealing with my son's tantrums. He is nonverbal, so it takes a lot of patience and understanding. My brother Abe, 30 male, and his family, and 29 female, Sue 10 female, became homeless earlier this year. I have offered my home to them as I have an 8-bedroom house that I inherited from my husband's family. Everything seemed okay at home. Jacob goes to kindergarten 4 days a week, then on Fridays I go with him to therapy. My brother and his wife stay at home most of the time. They said they're looking for a job. It's been a while now, but I don't mind as I love my brother and I have more than enough to help them. The problem started when my niece keeps teasing Jacob. She would take his toys and iPad, ending in him throwing tantrums and being really upset. I've talked to my brother and aunt about it, and they said it's just a harmless play between cousins. What made me angry was when Sue entered Jacob's room. I've told her many times before that Jacob doesn't like anyone going to his room. She took my son's scoreboard, visual aid to help with communication, and played with it. I heard my son screaming and crying while banging his head on the wall. I told off Sue, and my brother and I got into an argument. I told him his daughter's picking on Jacob isn't acceptable, and that he needs to discipline his daughter. That's when my brother said that we wouldn't have been in this problem if I had returned that retard to the orphanage. I got so angry, told him to leave my house and I don't want to ever see him again. They left my house later that day, and I heard from a friend that they now live in a motel, emergency housing. I also stopped giving them money. Our parents said I should just forgive my brother and continue helping him as we are family, but I could never forgive what he said. Am I taking this too far? Now for the top comments. No, you are not. You should not forgive your brother at all. He isn't wrong here. If he wants forgiveness, he should be begging for you to forgive him. Exactly. Why isn't he trying to say sorry? Seriously, I can understand a slip of the tongue in the heat of the moment, but this sounds like a pattern of behavior that is only going to get worse if they can't figure out how to be responsible. You need to protect your son. Nobody else will, apparently. Your brother and his wife made choices in parenting that landed them in that hotel. They are homeless. A family member takes them in off the street, and they antagonize their host. They then torment the host's special needs child and insult him to his mother's face. This isn't very smart behavior in itself. Your parents are pressuring you to cave into this mistreatment because then the brother isn't their problem. It's the stupidest thing I've read in a long while. Biting the hand that feeds you doesn't even cover it. Wow. Last story is titled, My 24 female sister, 30, hid her pregnancy from me so that I could move into a house she could only afford if I was renting. Now that I want to move out, some friends are telling me I shouldn't as she can't afford to be on her own. I feel stuck. I moved in with my sister almost 4 years ago. She took me in when I had nowhere else to go, and I had been forever grateful. I live with my sister, her husband, and 4 children. Although it's a lot of us, I've always had my own room, and I paid $600 for it. Unfortunately, they're not very financially stable, so my rent money goes a long way for them. The apartments we live in weren't great, but there wasn't much to complain about. Around April of this year, she suddenly told me the apartment management had told her the contract wasn't getting renewed, and that it ended in May. That was in less than a month, so I didn't have time to find roommates or a new place. I was stressing. The next day, though, she told me she had seen a house already. More space, big backyard, and that I could get my own bathroom, plus a parking garage. My rent would be $800 now, but with all that included plus since the kids would have their own room, I could use the kitchen a lot more. I said yes, as it's not like I had any other options. Fast forward to now. That was all a lie. I pay $800, which is almost my whole check, and my bathroom is everyone's bathroom. She has a bathroom in her room, but says she likes mine better as it has a tub and a bigger sink and space. She showers all the kids plus the dog there, and my bathroom is always dirty. The parking garage she took because they had 2 cars, and it's easier on them to use both garages. I've had it, and I want to move out. Then yesterday morning, I woke up to the kids telling me they have a new baby sister. I was confused, until my brother-in-law came into the kitchen and told me my sister had given birth to a baby girl and showed me pictures. My sister had been pregnant this whole time and didn't even tell me. She's a bit on the chunky side, so it wasn't noticeable at all. I also work all day and go to school, so I never noticed any pregnancy symptoms. I am so angry as I realize now that she tricked me into moving. She kept her pregnancy as a secret because she knew I wouldn't want to move with her. 5 kids now. 5 damn kids when they aren't financially stable. I want to move out, but I know without my $800, they can't afford a place. They'd have to find a place elsewhere and pay for something they can't afford. I feel stuck. I don't want to live here anymore. I come home tired every day from work to screaming children, and my sister constantly going off on the kids. Some of my friends have said it's not that big of a deal, and I should just stay since I'm rarely ever home. And I should stay since I know they can't afford anything without me. But I'm angry. $800 is so much money for a room. It's too much money for everything I put up with. And the fact that she hid her pregnancy and tricked me into moving here just for her own benefit is crazy. Who does that? Surprise, I've been pregnant this whole 9 months? She's an adult with a husband. She's not your responsibility. To hell with folks telling you to stay. It's easy to promote when they aren't living in it. Get out ASAP and never look back, as far as regret. Yes, they helped you out, but now it's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet. Get out in the world and not be a burden to her family. See what I did there? I've given you a few talking points when you break the news to her and your brother-in-law. Also a rebuttal to folks who want you to stay because they need your income. Move out and take care of yourself. You're not responsible for your sister or her children. She should not have had 5 kids if she and her husband can't provide for them. I agree that she tricked you and takes advantage of you by constantly using your bathroom and refusing to share the garage. For your own happiness, move out. It might strain or damage your relationship with her, but are you prepared to live like this forever just to appease her? It's going to be difficult no matter what you choose, but know that your chances of living your life happily are probably higher if you put yourself first. I wish you luck. Should I tell my girlfriend I'm dying before I break up with her? Plus updates. Original post. Basically as the title says, I, 25 male, found out I have an illness that will kill me. It'll take over my body, and there's no cure. All the doctors can really do is prescribe stuff to make you comfortable. I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years now and she's the absolute love of my life. Always loyal and there for me. I've been in and out of hospital many times over the course of our relationship. Mostly due to me racing dirt bikes. The most serious incident was a stab wound, and I remember how scared and screamy she got, even though I just needed stitches and got to go home the next day. This is not something where I can just go home the next day. I'm breaking up with her because she deserves to be happy with someone healthy who can give her the life she wants and children. I'm scared she'll want to stay if I tell her what's going on. Part of me wants to lie and say I cheated, so she hates me and leaves. We have lots of mutual friends. She'll find out eventually it was a lie and connect the dots and why I did it. But thinking about her crying from that lie breaks my heart. I don't even know if this is the right sub to post it on. I just don't know what to do. Break up with her and tell her it's for her own good? Lie? Guess I also needed to vent because it just hit me this morning. I found out last week, but it just hit. I won't see 30. Edit. For people asking me what my diagnosis and prognosis is, it's pancreatic cancer. Something like 95% of people diagnosed with it die in about 3 years. I wasn't even paying attention for not putting that in a post at the beginning. That's my bad. But as you can tell, I'm a little overwhelmed these days. Now for the top comments before reading the update. If you love her, give her all the info and let her make a decision. Just because you are dying doesn't mean that you deserve to be alone. Her heart will be broken either way, so you can either fill your remaining time with good memories, or you can waste what precious days you have left making your girlfriend sad because it's for her own good. Yes, don't lie and hurt yourself and her as well. It's hard, and I'm sorry for what you're going through. But she deserves to know the truth if she's the one for you. Just lay it all out on the table. Sending you prayers and positive energy. This 100%. Anecdotally, someone I went to high school with found out her boyfriend, ultimately her fiancé and then husband, was terminally ill. She did everything she could and stood by his side. She rode it out with him. Unfortunately, passed after a long battle with cancer. She posts a lot about her memories with him, and she did throughout his battle. It was one of the most heartwarming love stories I've ever seen. Ultimately, it's your call, but if you love her and you think she loves you, you should let her know. Why doesn't she get to decide what's for her own good? This is a decision she has to make for herself. I know your heart is in the right place, and you're trying to protect her from the heartbreak of losing a partner so young. But breaking things off without telling her will just give her a different sort of heartbreak. and guilt when she inevitably finds out that you're concealing this illness from her. I'm letting her make the decision herself, telling her soon. Good luck. This is such a hard thing to be dealing with, but it sounds like you're handling it very well. I'm trying to accept it and move forward. Hope she does too. Now for the mini update. Reading these replies, there's no way I can reply to them all, so I will do my best to do it here. First off, thank you to those saying kind things. Second, I realized how dumb I was for being wanting to lie to her. I made reservations at her favorite restaurant, and I'll tell her afterwards. Part of me hopes she doesn't stay, but we'll see what she chooses. Now for the first full update. Took her to dinner at our favorite date spot. Had some amazing food and some drinks like always. The date continued like normal. We drove down to the beach and started walking till we got to our spot. She spoke first and said that she could tell there's something I want to say because I have that look in my face. She then made a joke about how it's too soon for us to get engaged, so if there's a ring in my pocket, it better stay there. This made it so much harder. She thought there was a ring in my pocket when I'm about to tell her there never will be. Absolutely broke my heart. I told her she's right. There is something I want to say, and I told her everything. From how I've found out to what the diagnosis means to the prognosis. I made sure to not sugarcoat it or leave anything out. She deserved to know everything. For the next hour, it was a mixture of asking me if I'm sure, and how could this be possible, and crying. She immediately said she's going to stay by me and I don't need to worry about anything. I told her she needs to take a few days to think about it. I had already arranged for her best friend to be waiting in the other parking lot to take her to her house, and I went home alone. Before anyone calls me names for not driving her home, I didn't want her to be alone after finding out. But I also didn't want her to see me cry. If she saw me tonight, she'd get more scared. It would hit her that I'm terrified, and she'd lose her cool. I got an update that she fell asleep because she cried so much. I sent an Uber Eats of her favorite dessert to her friend's house, so it'll be there when she wakes up. As soon as I'm done typing this, I'm meeting up with my 3 closest friends to hang out. I've known 2 of them for 20 years, and the other one for 18. We're very close and share too many TMI details. If anyone has suggestions on how to break the news of this to them, I'd greatly appreciate it. In the meantime, I'll be drinking for 2. Me and this bastard cancer. Edit? Thank you for the kind words. Couple things to add. 1. I'm in Canada, so I have free healthcare, and I'm not worried about the cost of fighting this. 2. I still haven't seen my girl, as she's still at her friend's house. She'll text me to ask how I'm feeling, and gets mad when I say I'm fine, or make a joke. 3. Telling others. Couple things you need to know about my friends. 2 of them are in medical school, and the other in law school. They're still idiots, though. I started off by asking one of them to make a cancer joke, ending it quickly with "too soon, man, too soon." And that's how my best friends found out I have cancer. Medical school friends started telling me about new drugs and treatments, while my law school buddy demanded to see my medical directives form, and that's how they found out I've been an organ donor for years. My parents still don't know. Sister? Can't even pretend to have a clue on how to tell her. I still see her as my baby sister, so it's tough. Lol. Boss asked for a one-on-one this morning and told him my diagnosis. He said he'll help me take advantage of the company's benefits as much as I want. I told him all I really want is to show up to work like nothing's wrong, and no one find out until I pass out at work. He agreed. My daily is a 2022 R1, blue crotch rocket for you non-motorcycle folks. I love that bike, and have been asked if I'll stop riding due to this. Short answer is hell no. I've known I had something bad inside of me way before getting cancer. Life goes on and so will I. I'll do my absolute best to keep you all updated if you'd like. Thanks. Mate, I saw your first post, and firstly, you rock. You don't deserve this. Secondly, I don't know if you saw my original reply, but I was in your girlfriend's position 4 years ago. Please reach out if you've got any questions or just want to vent. Keep making those happy memories, my friend. Big virtual hugs. I always thought that's what marriage was meant to be. I'm dating a man 20 years older than me, and sometimes, every now and again, he talks about what happens when he won't be here. But I love him so much that I don't care. She isn't staying out of kindness. It's because she wants to be there as long as she can. It's wildly different situations, but the same meaning. Even if it was certain he'd die tomorrow, I'd be there, and he'd do the same for me. I second this. OP, I am so sorry you're going through this. Nobody deserves this. The way you handled telling your girlfriend and making sure she's looked after was incredibly thoughtful of you. You're clearly a good person. Just jumping on to say I'm also dealing with a terminal illness and I'm 26 female. I went through a long time of denying myself the chance to be happy or let myself be loved, for fear of what it would do to my partner when I die. At the moment I started letting myself be loved, the hardest parts of this awful illness got so much easier to get through. I'm getting married in 2 weeks because I want our commitment to each other be registered in black and white for the world and the system to know how much we love each other, no matter how long it lasts. I'm always here if you want to chat, OP. You got this. F cancer. First, I'm really sorry you have to go through this. Truly, you're so young. Second, great decision to tell her everything. She deserved honesty from the man she loves. Allow her to be with you until the end. She won't want to leave you now. Allow her to support you and love you. Don't be alone in this. You don't have to be. Thanks. She still hasn't really talked to me. She will. You took your time processing this before telling her, and that's what she's doing now. Just processing it all. I love how you told your friends. It's hilarious. They seem like a really solid bunch. You'll get through this. There is no right or good way to tell people that you are dying. The dying part kind of prevents that. It sucks. I'm sorry you're in that position. You just have to make the best of it. Try not to push people away to protect them, because you can't. The only way you could have protected anyone is to not have any relationships in the first place, and that ship has sailed. One of the worst parts of losing someone is the regrets of all the opportunities missed. The best thing you can do for your loved ones is to let them be there as much as they want and can. Otherwise, they might have to live with the guilt and the regrets of not doing enough or being there. Now for the second update. Sorry for being MIA, it's been kind of crazy. My girlfriend made a decision to not stay. She said she doesn't think she can handle it and doesn't want me to have to take care of her when it should be the other way around. I said I understand and will always love her. Paraphrasing here, but that's the gist of it. Then yesterday she called me and said she's thought about it and wants to stay. She brought up all the other crap we've gotten over and how we always end up stronger. She wants to talk about getting married and kids while I still can. When I ask what made her change her mind, she said she'll tell me after I answer, no matter what I answer. This made me uncomfortable because she changed her mind. I told her I need time to think, but once again I'm back to you lovely people to ask. What the heck do I do? Am I overthinking this? While I'm here, I'll tell you all what happened with the others. Family. Told them while I was at my parents' for dinner. I brought my scans and test results and just explained it using facts, not feelings. I did this because my parents both hold PhDs and are university professors. I thought they'd accept it easier with evidence rather than feelings. Seeing my sister cry shattered my heart into a million pieces. I just hugged her and said it'll be okay because now she knows she'll get my car soon. She laughed a little and for some messed up reason that made everything okay to me. Friends. The 3 dum-dums I call my best friends helped me tell some other close friends. They're being supportive and nice. I told them to cut it out and go back to roasting each other. They listened and we're good now. I've also told my work besties because they deserve to know. I sucked at answering everyone's comments and questions last time. I promise to try and do better here. As usual, I'm off to get drunk with dum-dum number 1 to 3. Cheers, bud. What made you change your mind is a fair question. And I really don't think it's okay to say I'll only tell you after you decide if you want to stay with me. It's understandable to want some assurance that she's not just going to change her mind again tomorrow. And understanding where she's coming from would help with that. I see it like this. She's devastated. She doesn't quite know how to handle all of this. My guess is she realized that even if she left you to handle this alone, she wouldn't be able to move on. She might see this as a way to carry a piece of you forever. Maybe even to keep contact with your family as a way to keep a piece of you. I really don't think she's planning anything malicious. She is already grieving and trying to cope with losing you. If it were me, I don't think I would deny her request because it's her life, but make sure she knows what's in store. She will have a hard life raising a child on her own. That being said, she may have a hard life anyway with you always in her memories. This is a terrible situation, and I would just accept whatever help she wants to offer as a way to say goodbye. God bless, and I'll be praying for your family. My first thought is she is probably pregnant, and that is what changed her mind, and she wants to hear what you think before telling. But that is just what I'm thinking. I'm so sorry this is happening. I know it doesn't help and doesn't change anything, but still. I'm happy you are in Canada though. You can give it your all without worrying about costs. Now for the last update. First off, to people who commented and messaged sorry for being MIA, I've been trying to get through them. Thank you to everyone who said kind things. A lot has happened since my last update. My girl said she would tell me why she changed her mind after I gave her an answer. I told her I wouldn't give an answer until I knew what changed her mind. And boy was I not ready for the answer. A lot of y'all thought she would tell me she's pregnant. Nope. She didn't want me to die without knowing her biggest secret, but only wanted to tell me if I stayed with her. Are y'all ready? She cheated on me while I was in the hospital from a motorcycle accident. I still don't get how this made her change her mind, but it's the only explanation I got from her. He just happened to be comforting her and made a move. She just happened to be emotionally vulnerable. Because it always just happens, right? I thought I'd want to scream or shout out at her, but all that came out was a big old goofy smile and laugh. That ticked her off. But I'm sorry, this is hilarious. I'm dying and she wants sympathy from me? I never asked her to stay. I never asked her to take care of me. Not now, not back when I got in my accident. I just got up and left. She's been texting and calling nonstop, sent every single one to voicemail. Her friends are calling me an a-hole for leaving her like that. Screw what they say. They all knew and didn't tell me. For the rest of what's going on with me, I drink a lot. Like too much a lot. I know it's bad, but it makes everything feel normal. The world when I'm drinking is just so much better than when I'm sober. I'm thinking of doing chemo, but I don't know if there's a point. I took a look at my finances, and turns out I have a tidy sum over here. I'm not going to blow it on entertaining myself or a year-long trip. I'm just going to work and spend it how I want. Whatever is left is going to be split amongst my friends because my family doesn't need it. And yes, I already cleared it with them. They have no problem with it. So now that I'm single and probably drunk, I will be able to answer your questions and comments. Also, I'm not sure if I've turned this sub into that one friend you can talk to about this random stuff or not, but if it's not allowed, let me know and I'll stop. Lol. Cheers, bud. Man, that took a turn for the absolute worst. And I thought you were going through the worst crap already. She deserves the least amount of sympathy from you, and her friends too. Also, the guy she hooked up with can go screw himself. I'd say drinking isn't the best thing to do to recover, but not like there's much else to do than just live up what's left in life. Just do it with people you love and respect more than you do it by yourself. Don't want you going and making any significantly stupid decisions. I'm not going to blow it on entertainment or a year-long trip. Why not? Go out with no regrets. Do something you've always wanted. Your boss has been supportive, so why not go on a holiday with him? Short of that, mate, look after yourself as best as you can. Make the absolute most of the time you have left. I told one of my buddies who is, how should I say this, running a successful street business. He found a guy she hooked up with and said whenever I felt like it, we could pay him a visit. Lol. Anyways, I didn't spend it on entertainment, but I did order myself a very nice Ducati I was saving up for. I know this is cliche, but honestly, if we all didn't save our money for the end, we would be so much more happy. Spend it on making memories you won't forget. Learn from my mistakes. Lol. I'm sorry for your ex, for what you did, for what you missed. I truly do hope you don't feel like there's nothing beyond getting drunk at this point, as your life is worth it, even if it's 1 month or 2 years. I don't want you to feel like you got sucked into a hole and now there's no point in getting out, and there's no point in living your remaining time. I understand why you want to numb it all, but if I may tell you something from the bottom of my heart, don't live like you're already gone. Live for the good times and memories you will leave behind with those you love, while you still have time to make them. I'm sending you all my good energies and good wishes. I'ma live like there's no tomorrow. I'm not crazy, so not scared of doing something that dumb. But I do have a bucket list of things to do. Things like steal a 100 speed limit sign. I want it on the wall of my garage. Haha. Am I the a-hole for leaving my own wedding because my husband embarrassed me? Plus updates. Original post. I, female 27, and my husband, male 29, have been together for 3 years. In those 3 years, I have never have known him to be selfish. Occasionally immature, yes, but even that was rare. These problems arose when those stupid cake smashing videos got popular, and my husband thought they were hilarious. I've never thought they were funny, and he knows that. Yet, he was always showing me the videos of those poor wives getting the happiest days of their life ruined by their a-hole partner for some cheap laughs. He also knows I have a history with cake smashing. My family does the cake smashing thing. I remember it was my 17th birthday, and I pleaded with my mom to not do it. She promised, and I trusted her. I had my hair and makeup done up all nice, and right as I blew out my candles, my mom pushed my head into the cake, and one of the decorations on the cake ended up slicing my forehead. Not enough to go to the hospital, but enough for some substantial bleeding. My birthday was ruined, and after that I wouldn't come out my room. My mom still calls me a brat for that. I told him if he ever did something like that to me, I'd leave him. He started laughing, but I was being serious, though he really was not taking me seriously.
Now skip to a few days ago when my wedding happened. Everything was perfect. I was happy. He was happy. I was excited for our new lives as newlyweds. I felt like a princess in my poofy white dress and done up hair with perfect makeup. All very expensive things I would like to mention. We get to the cake cutting part, and as I turn to him, he scoops up a huge chunk of our wedding cake and smashes it all over my face. Everything just seemed to go in slow motion for a few moments. He's just laughing at me, and then says, "You should see your face," and continues to laugh. Other people in the crowd, mostly my family, are also laughing at me. Then I just started walking away. He realizes that I'm leaving and tries to catch up with me and says I'm being extra. I push him away and order an Uber. As I got outside, most of the crowd is following me, telling me to come back. I get into the Uber and drive away. I drove to our apartment and packed most of my things and went to stay at a hotel. Currently though, I'm staying at a friend's house. My this family has been blowing up my phone for days, saying I'm being childish, and my husband is a good man, and it was just a joke. My husband has been calling me nonstop, telling me to please come home, and that he wants to talk. That he's sorry and didn't think I'd get that emotional. This was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, and he embarrassed me in front of everyone for some prank that he knew I hated. Not only that, he ruined a $500 cake. He ruined my makeup, my hair, and the top of my dress. The cake got all over. Though I still do love him, and I'm wondering if I really was too hard on him. That seems to be everyone else's opinion. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Guy here, I've ended relationships for less. Shout out to the mom for also being a huge a-hole. Yeah, what the heck was with that? Calling her a brat? I'd be mad too. It wasn't a time or place for him to try and get laughs. Seriously, grow the heck up. I thought cake smash was meant for a 1-year-old on their birthday, which I think is also stupid. Just eat the cake like a normal person. I'm not talking about smashing a 1-year-old in the face with a cake. I'm saying the cake smash that a 1-year-old does themselves, in my opinion, is also stupid. Why give a kid an entire cake just for them to throw it everywhere? Not the a-hole. This is a glimpse into the rest of your marriage. He completely disregarded what you specifically told him not to do. Annulment. Go and don't look back. He should have known better. He should have considered your feelings, especially on your wedding day. What an a-hole. I would never do something like that to my wife, especially something tied to the past that could be a trigger for her. He basically re-traumatized you on your wedding day. Screw that guy. You deserve better. What a crappy thing to do. It happened to me at a birthday party. Not my birthday or cake, but somehow I was the one that copped it in the face. Not only did it hurt, but I was so shocked that I started to cry and then left. Yes, it hurts. People think it's just a little mushy cake. Like, no, it hurts, especially if there are decorations. And some people don't even think about the skewers that hold up cakes that are multiple tiers or just really large cakes. Knew someone who once got a skewer to the eye from having their face smashed into their own birthday cake. Of course, that ended a party and sent birthday kiddo to the ER. Update. I decided to speak to him bright and early this morning. I'm leaving him. Some of you might be happy about that and some of you might not be. But I still decided to call him and get his reasoning for why he did what he did. He told me he just thought it was a funny prank, and that if it was at the wedding on a happy day, that he could change my mind. Plus, since it was a tradition in my family that I wasn't following, he thought that he could get points with my family. Then he told me he's sorry that I took it as a disrespect. I told him he shouldn't be saying that he's sorry that I took it that way. He should be apologizing for hurting me. Where is the I'm sorry? I told him he hasn't apologized with accountability once, and all his apologies have been backhanded. I also reminded him that I didn't have a good relationship with most of my family, nor my mother, who he forced me to invite. I told him he knew I was already the black sheep of my family, and the verbal abuse and public humiliation I received by my mother for years really messed with me, and he knew that. Then he says this, why should I have to apologize because he can't take a joke? I blew up. I told him, are you serious? If it was me who hurt you to this degree, the first thing I do is apologize. While you can't even force yourself to be decent for a few seconds and just apologize to me. I also told him that he was trying to get in good with a family who mistreated me by public, humiliated me, and that is something that is unforgivable. Marriage means you stick by me, yet you showed you obviously did not. It's not about you ruining my dress or my hair, or even the cake. It's about how you knew how I felt about this and the trauma I had connected, and you didn't care. He then tried doubling down and saying it wasn't his fault for not apologizing because my family was telling him how dramatic I was and how I was hurting them by leaving the wedding for a joke. Then he said he loves me and he doesn't want to break up over this nonsense and that I should just come home. I told him I wasn't coming home and it wasn't even about the cake anymore. It's because I cannot be with a man who won't apologize when he's wrong and who gaslights their significant other into receiving the blame. He started cursing me out at this point, but after about a minute of hearing him scream at me, I hung up. I guess he started telling my family because within half an hour my phone was blowing up again. The worst ones had to be from my mother and a sister. My mother was telling me I'm going to end up alone because I can't take jokes, and I'll never be able to keep a man with my attitude. Even saying that my clock is running out fast, and when it did, no one will want me and I'll be alone. His sister was telling me that I'm a disgusting B-word for hurting his brother and wasting his time. That she wishes that he would have broken up with me 2 years ago when he first wanted to. So now I know that he wanted to break up with me. What I also know is that he was cheating on me for 6 months with his ex who wanted him back, but then she dropped him because he stayed with me. The thing is, I had a good relationship with his sister, and she knew he was cheating on me? I guess she put everything out on the table since I was leaving anyway. I blocked most of my family, and I blocked all of his family. I also blocked him and I'm getting an annulment. My friend said I could stay with her for a few months till I get back on my feet, and I told her I really appreciate it. So yeah, that's the end. I'm crying while typing this. I wasted 3 years on a man who never really cared about me. I've lost what little relationship I had with my family, and now I only have the few friends I have been blessed with. I'm going to have to pick up the rest of my stuff. I also told him before I blocked him, if he broke anything of mine, I would bring it to court. Thank you for all the kind words and encouragement. I'm gonna go sleep now since I haven't done so in 24 hours. The good news is she can have it annulled. To be honest, I would have asked the officiant not to send in the certificate. Most states require us to send them in within 48 hours or something like that. I do it immediately, like next day. So it's likely that wasn't an option. Please stop with the face cake BS. So freaking dumb. In what universe is that actually funny? I have never laughed at it, and it only ever makes me groan. So stop it. It was lame 100 years ago, and it's lame now. As a fat guy, I feel offended that they'd waste cake. The most tasty and delicious of all things tasty and delicious. What the heck is wrong with people? The wedding cake in particular, somebody paid a lot of money for that cake only to have it ruined. As a guest, I'd be mad. Sometimes the cake is the best part of the reception. Second update. So my last post got taken down and I've gotten a lot of messages. I just wanted to update you all about a few things. I haven't gotten my stuff from my ex yet. I just haven't had the energy to because I'm still extremely upset, obviously. From the videos online, to the comments I received on my original post, to also the comments I looked at on repost of my post. It kind of made me think that there probably was a lot of red flags, and I was just used to being mistreated, so the bare minimum was enough for me. After speaking about it with my friend, she said that he definitely had a lot of red flags, and she even told me I should stay away from dating until I get some help, because I was obviously not seeing the red flags right in front of me. I'm not going to go into it, but sometimes I'd have to cook second dinners for my ex because he didn't like everything I made. His mom apparently didn't get him used to vegetables, so he won't eat them. Or making fun of my cramps and my period. That's some of what I was referring to when I said immature. Someone texted me saying if I was sure that he cheated on me. No, I am not sure. At the moment, it just felt like it made sense because of how horrible he was being. Though they made a good point. The sister very much well could have just been trying to kick me when I was down, since I was leaving anyway. I have no evidence, and I probably will never have evidence. I unblocked him to just tell him I was going to come over in a few days to get my stuff. And if he could just not be there and that I'd leave my keys. He said fine and that was it. So he will not be there when I get the rest of my belongings. I will also bring a friend with me in case he does do something. I'm still not speaking to my family, and I think I'm just going to go no contact like people suggested. I saw a video from a woman speaking about me, and someone in the comments said I was groomed into this treatment, which is why he felt it was okay to do this. Maybe she's right. When I get my financials in order, I think I'll try therapy and wait a few years before attempting to date anyone. I also kept getting this question. How did the Uber come so quick? The wedding venue was in a city, in a building. Uber took 30 seconds to order and 3 minutes to get there. Plus, who was really going to stop me from getting into the car? My husband gave up, to be honest, pretty fast once he saw me trying to get into the car. I thought it was weird, but I realize now, playing victim because he didn't get his way. Some of you may be saying, how did you not realize you were being abused? I don't know. Sometimes it just happens that way. My brain is kind of dead at this point. Again, thank you to literally everyone for all the sweet comments, and even people messaging me privately. I haven't responded to them all, but I will try since you took time out of your day to see if I was okay. I really appreciate that. I'm okay though I feel lonely and depressed, but I have my friends supporting me, so I'm not that alone. I'll be okay and will get myself out of this hole. I realize this post is a bit too doom and gloom. This is such a sad story. Poor girl is so traumatized. She thought this horrible guy was worth marrying. The cake was inadvertently a gift, given it got her away from this abusive monster. Right? I feel like every relationship should have a "don't press this shiny red button if you're not an a-hole" moment before marriage. Which, from how the OP described things, this kind of seemed like. The stuff from her mom is so illuminating. No wonder she didn't see the red flags on this guy. She's been living with red flags her whole life. Exactly that. If that's all you've ever known, you think it's normal. I had to sit down when she said she probably accepted the bare minimum from her ex because of how she was raised. That hit so close to home. OP honestly deserves better. The husband is a really terrible person for treating OP the way he does. I understand cake smashing is fun for some, but I never really understood the popularity why cake smashing is a thing. I always found it to be kind of nonsense and a waste of good cake. Last story. Am I the a-hole for marrying before my older sister and ruining her life? I, female 24, has been in a relationship with my boyfriend, male 24, for 3 years now. We want to move in, but our Orthodox parents refuse to allow us unless we get married. Since we had anyways planned to get married sometime in the future, we decided to indulge them and get married now itself. The wedding was an intimate affair with only close family. Reception was huge, but it was also a disaster. The reason is that I married before my older sister. I have an older sister, Anu, female 29. Our family was seeking alliances for her for almost 3 years now, but none matched up. And she's fine with this. But younger sister marrying before older one is almost unheard of here. The circumstances regarding my marriage was why my family didn't mind it. But at reception, all everyone talked about was how my sister was an old maid and who will marry her now. All because I couldn't wait for her to get married. Now even my closest family is blaming me for being selfish and getting married before my sister. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's not your fault your sister isn't married yet. Who will marry her now? Lol. Personally, I don't think people should be married before 30. You have no idea what you want in life until your late 20s. Big agree. I'm glad I didn't marry before 30, because only recently after turning 30, I figured out what I want in my life. What kind of partner, what kind of life, career, etc. It's a big decision. And yeah, not the a-hole. Has nothing to do with your sister and you. Those people need to wipe their nose off the brown stuff they got from sticking it in other people's butt. Not the a-hole. Your family are the a-holes here. You are an adult. Why should your family dictate who you can or can't live with? Who cares what they say? Family seeking alliances to get your older sister married? Man, there is so much to unpack here. Does your sister want to get married? Your family needs to buzz off and leave you and your sister to your own lives. We live in a country where all your questions are accepted as facts. Living together without marriage was actually illegal until a decade ago. It is still not custom here. And we care, because these are still our families and community we live in. We have to survive here for the next 50 years. Arranged marriage is very common here. Love marriage frowned upon. And yeah, my sister wants to get married. Her situation is kind of funny. She doesn't want to marry a friend, but she has to like the vibe of the person. But if she likes the vibe, she makes them her friend, or automatic rejection. It's like a circle. And she is happy where she is at. No, neither my parents nor me are forcing her. Personally, I wish she would stay single. She is having a blast in her single life, and I would be sad to see her tie down. Unless she finds her person, that is.
Update. Am I the a-hole for going behind my wife's back and telling her pregnant sister that she's being cheated on? Original post. I have been married to my wife for 3 years. I'm 27 and she is 26. My sister-in-law is 30 and my brother-in-law is 31. I've always had a close relationship with my sister-in-law. We're friends. I also have a decent connection with my brother-in-law, though we're not that close. We often talk and get along. My wife and her sister haven't gotten along as well as you might expect siblings do. It's not just normal sibling rivalry, but rather constant fights and arguments. Anyway, 3 weeks ago, when I was having dinner with my friends, I saw my brother-in-law with another woman. They were just eating, and I didn't think much of it. I wanted to go and greet him, but I stayed with my friends. After a while, I saw him give this woman a light kiss. I was so shocked. I decided not to confront him, but when I got home, I told my wife everything. I told her that her sister was being cheated on and that we needed to tell her. My wife said we should talk to my brother-in-law instead of telling her sister and that we shouldn't break up their marriage because her sister is pregnant. I was like, what? So what if she's pregnant? Her husband is cheating. I tried multiple times to convince my wife that we should tell her sister the truth. I told her, I know you guys don't get along, but she's still your sister, and this isn't right. But my wife asked me to stay out of it. I tried my best to convince her, but she either ignored me or insisted that we should break up their marriage. I had enough, and yesterday I told her that I was going to tell my sister-in-law the truth. She and I have a great bond, and I can't and won't betray her. My wife then said that if I told her, she wouldn't talk to me anymore. I replied, I won't talk to you either if you refuse to do what's right. Today, I went to my sister-in-law's place and told her everything. At first, she was doubtful and asked me to leave. After a few hours, she called me crying and said that what I told her was true. She apologized for doubting me and told me she was leaving. I asked her, where will you go? Do you have money? She said she did, but not much. I wired her some money and told her to call me if she needed help. She thanked me and said she would only use the money if necessary and would return what she didn't need. My brother-in-law called my wife and my wife lashed out at me, saying I ruined her family and her sister's life. I said, I thought that when we got married, your family became mine and my family became yours. Why are you defending that man so much? What about your sister? She didn't respond and hasn't talked to me since. I tried to explain to her that it was the right thing to do, but she wouldn't listen. Finally, I said, fine, stay angry, and if you want to divorce me, go ahead. Now, I feel like I may have ruined my marriage and don't know if what I did was truly the right thing. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. If I were you, I would sleep with one eye open. Your wife has no moral standards. I truly have been thinking about this, that she might just be... But I love and trust my wife, and I was thinking she wanted me to not tell her because my sister-in-law is pregnant, and women knows how stressful pregnancy and after pregnancy is. And she might have thought that she needs support from her husband? I don't know. Nothing here makes sense to me. There was nothing for me to suspect of her cheating on me. You know what else would cause your pregnant sister-in-law stress? Getting an STD from her cheating husband. You've done the right thing. Sounds like your wife supports cheater and that should be worrying to you. Not the a-hole. I've thought about it, and I am concerned. But I think she asked me not to tell her because my sister-in-law is pregnant, and it would cause her more stress. That's just my guess. But the truth is, if I hide it and support my wife, I'm in the wrong. If I tell her the truth after she gives birth, I'm still wrong. If I hide it forever, I'm still wrong. So what am I supposed to do? Cover for the betrayer and not help my family? Even if my wife is angry at me and I'll probably lose her if I haven't lost her already. I'm surprised your wife wouldn't tell her sister. So am I. What I think is that no matter how strained both sisters' relationship is, at least a sibling would have the back of their sibling, especially when they are pregnant. But she didn't even try to help her sister and angry at me. I am like, WTF? Is this really the woman I got married to? Now for the update. It's been a few days since I told my wife's sister that her husband is cheating. Just to clarify for all the people questioning me, no, I am not in love with my sister-in-law. I don't have any inappropriate relationship or feelings for her. I respect her and she's family. Yesterday, I asked my wife why she was upset and why she didn't want me to reveal the truth to her sister. I know they don't get along, but they're still siblings. My wife said it wasn't our place to interfere. I asked if she was okay with her sister being cheated on. She said she wasn't, but that I'd ruin their marriage with my stupidity. She said her sister is pregnant and the child needs his father, and so does the wife. I was so shocked when she said that. Like, what? I asked her, if I were to cheat on you, would you forgive me? She said yes. I also asked if, hypothetically, she ever cheated on me, would she hide it from me? She also said yes. I was stunned and asked her if she understood what she was saying. She said, yes, and I am confident. Just because you slept with someone else doesn't mean everyone else has to suffer and break the family. I was speechless, and then told her I had also sent my sister-in-law money. She started yelling at me, saying I shouldn't have helped her, knowing that she doesn't like her sister. I replied that if that's how she felt, maybe we should just divorce. She got angry, shouted, fine, and began packing her bags. I tried my best to stop her, telling her that I love her and that I was only doing what I thought was right. No one should have to suffer betrayal like this. She argued that it wasn't the right time. I asked, so when should we tell her the truth? After she gives birth? Because that would worsen her postpartum depression. Or years after? She'll just blame us. My wife said we should have kept quiet and left it alone. I tried so hard to stop her, but she wouldn't listen and left. I've tried to contact her parents and friends, but none of them know where she is. They instead started questioning me, saying that as her husband, I should have taken care of her and should know where she is. I even visited my brother-in-law's place to confirm my suspicions, but I didn't see her car or any of her belongings there. I hate that I'm being blamed for simply telling the truth, and my wife left me without a second thought. I was so frustrated that today, I called my sister-in-law and told her she could stay at my place because I'm going to my parents, and my wife left me with no one knowing where she is. She said she'd try talking to her parents, but later called back to say they didn't know where she was either. I told her to focus on herself and come stay at my place instead of spending all her money on temporary accommodations. So now, I'm at my parents' house and my sister-in-law is at my home. Maybe I'm being petty, but I can't stand that my wife left me without a second thought. I don't know if she's cheating or has cheated, or if she would ever truly betray me and her own sister because of family feuds. But one thing is for sure, I can't trust my wife anymore. She hurt me deeply. I'm sorry, Opie. The way your wife speaks on the subject of cheating is concerning. Especially that she would hide it from you. If I were in your shoes, I won't be able to trust her either. How she doesn't look at cheating on your significant other as a huge deal breaker is beyond me. Some couples can forgive and move past it, but not all. The baby's father can still be in his/her life. I'm sorry you're hurting and going through this. Hugs. Yeah, I feel like she isn't even the woman I married. She's like a completely different person. Maybe the comments about I married a wrong sister were right. Haha. In any case, I loved her and I still do and will do so for a foreseeable future. So I'll just back out of relationship and dating scene. And even I don't trust my wife at this point. Your wife was mad because she's most likely the one having the affair with your brother-in-law. And if it's not with a brother-in-law, it's definitely with someone else where you think she's been, hiding at her affair partner's place. Your wife told you she would cheat on you and would have no remorse to it, and would also not tell you. What in that tells you she hasn't already done that? She sympathizes with cheating probably because she's been in that position and sees it in herself as no big deal. You obviously feel differently. Think on this for a while before you go groveling and begging for her back. I think she just told you a really big secret and expects you to understand and forgive her. At this point, I would just contact her parents and say you need an address for her to be served. This is not a marriage where your partner storms off and disappears with no contact. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering divorcing my wife because she told my sister's husband that my sister cheated on him? My wife and I have been married for 14 years and we have 3 kids. My wife has always been a bit snoopy and nosy, but it didn't really bother me until recently. My sister and I have always been close since childhood, and we tell each other everything. Many years ago, my sister confessed to me that she had an emotional affair, which lasted for a month. She was in tears and very remorseful. Her marriage was going through a difficult time. We talked a lot about it, and after those conversations, my sister joined therapy, became sober, and she's now living a very happy life with her husband. My wife never knew about this because I've always made sure to keep my conversations private. However, a couple of weeks ago, I was a bit drunk and got lazy about being careful while talking to my sister. My sister was talking about how that was a turning point in her life and how she couldn't be happier now. My wife overheard this conversation and asked me about it the next day. I told her it was none of her business, but she kept saying it was unfair to my sister's husband and that he deserved to know. I told my wife to let it go, but instead, she called my sister's husband directly and told him what she'd overheard. I was shocked and really angry at her. Now my sister's marriage is on the rocks, and her husband is seriously considering divorce. I told my wife that if my sister goes through a divorce, then I would go through a divorce too. She was shocked and apologized repeatedly, saying she would never do this again, but I don't think this is repairable. She's now begging me to at least consider our kids and how disruptive a divorce would be. The atmosphere at our house is really tense now, and I'm no longer sleeping in the same room as my wife. I refuse to talk to her or eat the breakfast or dinner she prepares. Instead, I go out to eat. My wife has cried a few times, but I think those are empty tears. Am I the a-hole for considering divorce? Now for the comments. It's weird that you're the one threatening divorcing her, since she would be the one divorcing you because you're a huge a-hole. I'm going to be an emotional terrorist to my children by removing myself from breakfast and dinner and leaving them confused and scared because they can tell I'm fighting with their mom. Dude can't even keep appearances for the sake of the kids. You don't even have to speak with her. Just show up and eat the freaking food for their sake until you either decide to patch things up or file for divorce. This part, dude doesn't even care about his kid's emotional state. Just him, his sister, and his own invalid feelings. What kind of husband supports a cheater? Covers it up? What kind of dad treats his kids' mothers like that in front of them? All of this over a month-long emotional affair years ago? It wasn't years ago to the cheated on husband. He just found out, so it's fresh. Things get really gray when you're talking about a short emotional affair. What does it even mean in this context? She realized she was developing feelings for a coworker and texting him too much, so she cut contact with him and went on to have a far happier marriage? Going back on some of that stuff is thought crime level nonsense. I'm okay with labeling something an emotional affair when they're sending "I love you and can't wait to leave my husband for you" texts, and he finds out about it. But it's kinda different when she realizes she's doing the wrong thing, then shuts it down on her own before anything physical happens. Like, what's next? Leave her for having a dream about someone else? We all have thoughts and feelings, and sometimes they wander. The thing that should matter is what you choose to do with those feelings. She chose to discard them and stay with her husband. That seems like something I wouldn't hold against her. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's ruining my wedding by demanding I invite her ex? So my wedding is coming up in a few weeks, and it's supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. I, 28 female, have been planning it for months with my fiancé, 30 male. Everything is coming together except for my sister, 26 female. A bit of backstory. My sister and her ex, Jake, were together for several years. They broke up about 6 months ago, and it was a pretty messy breakup. She was devastated, and I've been there for her through all of it. I understand that she's still struggling, and I've tried my best to be supportive. The problem started when she told me she wanted me to invite Jake to my wedding. I was taken aback because, well, things ended badly between them, and she's clearly not over it. I told her from the start that I wasn't comfortable inviting him, especially since it was such a painful breakup for her. She seemed okay with that at first, but then she started pushing me harder. She said it wasn't fair for her to pretend everything is fine and that I was being insensitive to her feelings. I tried explaining that this is my wedding and I want it to be a day focused on joy, not uncomfortable situations. But now she's really upset. Then it escalated. She told me that if Jake wasn't invited, she wouldn't come to the wedding at all. She says it's too important for her to have him there for closure. I get that she's going through something tough, but this is my wedding, and I don't want it overshadowed by old drama. I've tried to be firm and said she could either come and respect my decision or not come at all. But now she's telling the rest of the family that I'm being selfish and prioritizing a wedding day over her emotional well-being. It's tearing me up, but I really feel like I'm standing my ground. I'm now questioning if I'm being too harsh. I know weddings are a big deal, but it feels like she's making this all about her, and it's not the time or place to do that. So, am I the a-hole? Say, okay, you're off the guest list, and then hang up. The wedding is not the venue for her drama. Whatever you do, don't keep reasoning with her and negotiating with her. She's out. Invite your nice colleague or neighbor instead. She needs to stop being this pathetically desperate for a guy who doesn't want her. It would be weird for Jake to even want to come, but let's say he did and does go. Sister is probably imagining a reconciliation happening because it is a wedding and love is in the air, and she has watched one too many Hallmark movies. But what is going to happen in reality is, he will either come with someone which will set her off. He will start hitting on the bridesmaids, which will set her off, or he will spend the nights actively trying to avoid her while she chases him around like a lovesick puppy, which will then set her off. No matter what, she will end up ruining the wedding. Not coming is always a choice, but not coming because an ex won't be there is delusional and sad. I hope you have a beautiful, drama-free wedding and a resounding not the a-hole. I think she's hoping Jake will reach out to her to figure out going together as each other's +1 if he gets the invite, possibly triggering a reconciliation. That level of delusion needs serious help though. Not the a-hole. If she wants closure, she calls him like an adult and have a last dinner with him. Your wedding is not a place for her private dramas. Your in-laws don't have to be witnesses of this. She is disrespectful towards you, but she is more towards your fiancé, like it's not his big day too. It's not about your family, it's about two families joining. Your sister makes it about her. So, it's absolutely her right to not come to the wedding, but it will be her fault, not yours. She doesn't want closure. She's hoping the romantic setting of a wedding will be the perfect place to rekindle their relationship.